In the dusty desert of Nevada, not far away from Reno, the Wild West Motorsport Park stood for over 9 years. One of the more exhilarating off-road truck dirt racing courses within the western United States. And today it plays host to the Wild West 50. Off the back of the Indy 500, our drivers are hopping into slightly less powerful machinery. But I guarantee the action will be, if not more, as we head into what will be a thrilling round. My name's Tom Knight, here to take you through all of the action that happens here today. And alongside me, as always, is the wonderful John Harris. John, how are you?
First of all, such a wonderful compliment. Thank you ever so much. I'm not worthy of that, but I'm looking forward to this one. It's kind of one of those, well, wild combos. It's kind of in the name. But two-wheel drive, great big suspension, off-road with loads of jumps. What more is there to love about this? I think the drivers are going to be quite wild in this one. And with the championship heating up towards the end, who knows? They might go for dangerous moves.
They certainly will. Of course, 2 rounds to go here in the summer shake-up season of our first ever endeavour into iRacing. And our drivers, I think, to say, have had an absolute blast over a multiple series and chaos and conundrums of various tracks and car combos. I, for one, have been enduring and watching as we've gone along from home. We have got the standings that we can show along at home. And if you see him up on your screens at the moment, Kamikaze at the top with a staggering 2,335 points. Just behind him, Sparks on 2,044. And the rest of the top 10, Aidan Pole, Brendan Hyperstar, who of course was victorious in not only the Indy 500, but of course the other oval race that we've run here this year at the Vegas Super Speedway. Matt 212 steps into 5th place with Ancephalosis in 6th. Aerotech starts 7th, is 7th on the standings, with Strasner in 8th, Blueberry in 9th, who I have been told is racing on a controller here this afternoon, and Supreme TV rounds out the top 10 in the championship standings.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of a problem for Blueberry's pedals, by what I gather. So, unfortunately, if you can't hit the throttle pedal, you can't do much around any racing game. So, there you go. Sometimes it happens, but credit to them for trying to get through on controller. It will be very difficult. Although, I will say, as we see that lovely police livery going by just then, but I will say it's probably one of the easier combinations to drive. You don't have that snappiness of tarmac, so as we see 3 wide already in the practice session. Love to see it. This is what we are looking forward to here. But this truck is something else, really. It is 400 brake horsepower, 2-wheel drive only, and as you can see, it goes like the wind in a straight line. However, in the corners, you have to be a little bit on the, not on the ragged edge, but like on a balance. You have to get it sideways, exactly like Brendan Hyperstar is demonstrating right there, but not too much. It doesn't have the 4-wheel drive to pull it out of the corner, so quite technical here. Also to note that Brendan Hyperstar might have wanted to have the overround counting in the championship, because that would have brought it much closer together, but alas, that is what a special event is for. The comebacks from a lot of drivers, though, from mid-season onwards, has put Kamikaze under pressure at the end of the season here.
It certainly has. We're already seeing a lot of carnage, a lot of chaos happening out here in Nevada. Got Matt 212 out there with a beautiful Hot Wheels-inspired livery as he makes his way over the jumps and the bumps. Normally we'd kind of talk about the track map and what we're expecting from the drivers here, but realistically there are only 4 turns here at the Wild West Motorsport Park, and all of them you pretty much have to try and stay somewhat flat out to get these cars rotated. As you see Ancephalosis kicking at the rear end out there. You can see that most times you've got the 2 classes, so to speak, of these off-road trucks in iRacing. You've got the Pro 2s, which are 2-wheel drives, and the Pro 4s, which are 4-wheel drive. The clue is roughly in their name.
Oh, look at that Scandinavian flick from Blueberry. My days, that was good. But you can see with the controller, very snappy, the steering, so that will be a problem perhaps in the race with the tyre wear or overheating or just snappiness. But yeah, as you explained, the Pro 2 is 2-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, and Pro 4 has extra brake horsepower, a lot more actually, and the 4-wheel drive system. So there's a lot to go around. We got Aerotech, which is one of those liveries, not exactly sure which one, but we've got Monkey Map as well with the Cookie Monster livery. Love to see that.
Certainly is indeed. It's fantastic to see all of our creators turning up week in, week out with quite often the most beautiful of liveries in and amongst the screens, because they quite a lot of them will put time and effort into making them all work, making them look absolutely stunning. And as we have been told by a producer in the background, there are 2 cop cars out there this afternoon, both driven by Encephalosis and Super Noodle Bagel. As you can see, Monkey Matt there just creeping around the back into what essentially is pit road here in Nevada, just making his way into what would have been essentially a grid box or a pit box. Of course, slightly different when we head and trade tarmac for dirt.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out which one is the best livery right now. You've got Matt212 with that Hot Wheels livery. You've got Killer Cleo with a fluorescent yellow livery, as per her branding, which I love to see. Kamikaze's gone for the all red livery, trying to replicate Ferrari, I guess, in winning everything. I mean, but I have something to say for that Cookie Monster livery as well. So, a lot of drivers being creative out here. I love to see that. But yeah, we'll be getting underway with qualifying in just a few seconds' time.
We certainly will. One notable entry that I want to say for the liveries has to be Brendan Hyperstar. I don't know if you're able to see it on your screens, or at least when we get into qualifying. Running what is essentially the most custom of liveries for this afternoon's event, just claiming that he is the back-to-back oval champion of the Crate Series. Obviously, after winning both Vegas and the Indianapolis 500 that we saw just a couple of weeks ago, actually, if you can think your minds back that far. And of course, as you said, Killer Cleo running that luminous yellow and black, which is obviously a rather trademark for Cleo. It's one that I can tell from first-hand experience, you do not miss in your rearview mirror.
No, it's for sure. It's almost like a psychological play there at that point. I want to say also, did Kamikaze run out of paint for his truck? Because you've got the top that's painted brilliantly, and then the bottom is another shade of red. So I'm not quite sure if he had to mix some other paint in there. But obviously the budget running thin after all of those race victories and the champagne.
I think maybe a little bit of carbon mixed in with the bottom half, just to make sure that it's as aerodynamic and less weighty as possible. You know, taking inspiration from some other racing series.
Yes, entirely. That's a good... we'll go with that one. That sounds like most plausible. As qualifying is underway, but it looks like the battles are really raging here for quali, as Kamikaze getting a little bit, I won't say held up, but definitely not being able to take the optimal line. That is just something you'll see quite a lot, is drivers trying to steam up the inside and then just rotating too much. And like we saw, for example, in our WRC series, it just snaps on you and there's nothing you can do about it apart from get off that throttle and just try and get the traction back. But it does mean that you have to be very consistent and very thoughtful of how to overtake around here, and we might see some literally laps where cars go side by side and can't get an advantage.
Well, speaking of drivers going side by side, I just saw in the background of one of our shots of Blueberry having issues. So the fastest doggo, certainly not anticipating well how things were going to go tonight. Brendan Hyperstar in that beautiful VR setup that he's got, able to do what essentially will be a full 360 look about that cockpit. And it must be terrifying going over all these bumps and jumps when you've got essentially you're immersed so deeply into the racing.
I'm just imagining the Harry Potter scene where they're in the car, they look behind them, and he just looks behind and there's Kamikaze in the rearview mirrors right there. And I'm hoping that happens now during the race, because that would be awesome to see Brendan just look behind to see what's going on. I'm not sure what the rear view visibility is like, probably not good whatsoever, but yeah, I mean, VR in anything is so nice, just to be able to look to the apex, especially in these, what I like to call stadium trucks. I know it's not the proper terminology, but you literally are going sideways and you can just look exactly where you're going, look around you where everybody is, and the immersion is just amazing, especially on this hill. We're just looking over the entire valley. It's something special.
I can't imagine the rear view would be anything rather particular. You can see the big, what is it, essentially the fans and the radiators for the engines just sticking out. You wouldn't see much apart from maybe the odd nose, or depending on how close the other drivers are. In and amongst you, we've got some results coming in for qualifying. It's Kamikaze, Shock Horror, that stands atop the timings at the moment with a 53.242. Just behind him, Punju sneaks up into second with Monkey Matt in third. Brendan Hyperstar, who's performed so well on the ovals, not necessarily finding the grip that he requires here on the dirt roads, with Matt212 in fifth, Sparks in sixth. Hopefully we don't see many Sparks here this afternoon, with Ryan in seventh and Cephalosis in eighth, and Els Indriani in ninth at the moment, replicating her race number.
Yeah, indeed. The Punju tradition of going well on anything dirt or where you need to have good visibility with those triple screens that he has is certainly working out for the moment. P3 just beaten though by Ancephalosis into P2 there, but Kamikaze 0.6 of a second clear at the moment. I mean, there's a trend. There has been a trend on anything to do with gravel or dirt, where Kamikaze has always been toward the top. Probably it will suit him as well, the rear-wheel drive. But I would say Monkey Matt has a lot of experience with everything that's off-road, so I wouldn't rule him out either. And probably a few drivers are just still getting used to the car and the track, so I will have to wait and see. Definitely very different compared to the Legends cars that we had around here the previous time out.
Absolutely, and you alluded to the history that Monkey Matt has. It's absolutely fantastic. He used to have it in his bio on Discord, which is one thing I was about to refer back to. However, he's now changed it. I believe quite successful in the rallycross elements of iRacing, from what I remember.
Yeah, and also he participated in a final of WRC Esports.
Yes.
Sadly, not the same final as me, but literally a year too early. But very, very talented to do with anything with off-road. So yeah, he has a huge amount of experience over multiple years. Even New Zealand esports, I think, in the WRC series as well. So, but as you said, in iRacing on the Rallycross, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So he's got so much talent and so many things that he can draw on, especially with the side-by-side racing, which can be very useful, as that was hugely wide for Blueberry, just completely 45 degrees sideways, but that was well held, and Ryan just tapping the wall, trying to get the absolute most amount of traction out of the vehicle as possible. Will it be an improvement from P8? No, sadly not, because Blueberry goes up to P6, dropping Ryan to 9th.
Yeah, times are coming thick and fast here as Killer Cleo we watch on board, or at least from a spectator's point of view, just behind them is going to be the Cookie Monster, which is, again, not something you particularly would want to have chasing down in your rearview mirror. Could be rather off-putting as they make their way down towards the line. Couple of jumps to go. They will cross that timing beam. Where does that put them on our timing chart? And they do go 11th place. A little bit off pace at the moment, but they will look to try and improve as they head into the race situation. It's something we've seen sort of week in, week out. Cleo doesn't necessarily have the best time over those one-lap pace, but the moment she gets into the racing and actually in the flow of the event, she really starts to pick up a standing.
Indeed, she's got the racecraft once she gets into the race, but she struggled a bit with qualifying, as you've been saying. So, yeah, a bit difficult, but it's there. When everything comes together, the pace is there, so nothing to worry about at the moment, especially with the trucks here. Qualifying isn't as important as everywhere else, because the opportunities to overtake on lap 1 are quite prolific, let's put it that way, especially with people making mistakes. So I've just had a view on Sparks there in P8 at the moment as Ryan improves to... no, that was El Zindrani improving, if I'm correct, to P10. But yeah, a lot of difficulty for Sparks when he needs to win this event to have a chance in the championship, and Kamikaze needs to finish well down the order. So at the moment it's all going Kamikaze's way, but it's very early in the session still.
Sorry, I've just seen the camera pulled up for Blueberry there. They don't know I'm on controller. F's in the chat, I believe that says, just on the right-hand side. And it is one that's really interesting to watch. We can see from the off-board sort of point of view from these cameras. You see just how much the wheel is flicking left and right as they try and get something dialed in over this course. The fact they're currently sitting in P6 is absolutely incredible, as Kamikaze has decided to go even faster here this afternoon. F's in the chat for the G920 is what our producer just told us.
Yeah, I was kind of like trying to figure out what that meant, and I arrived at the same conclusion at the same time as Gareth. So, the pedals going on the... I guess it's, just use, to be honest. Old sim equipment wears out eventually. And for Blueberry, it's just happened a couple of races too soon into the season, that's for sure. But on a controller, you need to have the saturation turned up, which is why the steering is going from left to right literally in a few milliseconds, because you need to counter steer, and it's a compromise really. You will get very snappy, inconsistent turning, but at least you won't be spinning all the time, and that's a severe compromise. But They seem to be making it work in P6, so it's not too bad, as there's a bit of bodywork there that has fallen off of the car of, I'm going to guess it's Super Noodle Bagel, although it could be Ancephalosis.
See, I thought it looked a little bit more vibrant than the black and white of the police cars that were plodding along at the moment. Monkey Matt goes third fastest over the course of everybody, just a tenth and a half off the back of Brendan Hyperstar, to ride aboard with Ancephalosis, just making his way through what is essentially turn 3, I believe, to come up towards the top of the hill and make their way down towards the final run. It is interesting to see how all of our drivers are taking the line. Some are really wanting to kick the rear end up, and that's who is that going backwards? That's Punji going backwards.
Is it Punji? No, it's Aerotech. It's Aerotech going backwards. The livery's very same, but I guess he's decided that that is the fastest way to set a qualifying lap. I guess the problem for Aerotech now is that there's not much time to qualify. And I think this might be their last lap in it. It will be their last lap in any case. So they're starting right from the back, I guess.
Well, at the moment, they haven't put a valid lap in. So they are standing completely at the back, further behind even than the likes of Super Noodle Bagel and Killer Cleo, who currently stand in 11th and 12th respectively. Brendan Hyperstar coming off the back of, again, so many wins at ovals in this season, looking to try and do well. He stands just a 10th exactly off the back of Ancephalosis as the clock ticks down. 2 seconds to go in qualifying. Of course, if they have started a lap, they have the opportunity to finish. And we will see that for Hyperstar here. Runs up towards the line. Can he try and steal something away? Crosses the line with a bit of a flick of the wheel. It's a 54.6 and will not be an improvement on the massive best, as we see an almighty crash up at turn 1 with one of the drivers, I think there's no other way to say it, than throwing their truck into a wall.
Well, thankfully they don't pay the repair costs between sessions, but there you go. As we have Monkey Matt, can he improve? It's looking good, but not good enough, I don't think. Still P4, so that's unfortunate. But I think people just pushing the limits a little bit too much. And maybe Aerotech will answer the question of whether you can set a completely valid lap while driving in reverse. I've never thought of that question, but we're about to get the answer anyway. Yeah, it's a shout out to Ancephalosis, by the way, who's put in a really good qualifying session to slot into P2.
He's gone back to the pits, so unfortunately Aerotech will not be setting a valid lap.
Oh, Aerotech, why spoil the show, eh?
Well, here's your qualifying order for today. It's Kamikaze that starts on top. Ancephalosis will start second. Brennan Hyperstar finishes third with Monkey Matt in fourth. Punju in fifth with Blueberry in sixth, somehow managing to complete an amazing lap on a controller. Matt 212 is seventh with Sparks in eighth. Ryan L83 from ninth and Helds Indriani as your top 10. Of course, 11th will be Super Noodle Bagel. Killer Cleo starts in 12th. Aerotech will start 13th. And if a few others decide to join us, they'll start from the back. I did see El Taco Man up on the screen.
Yes, as well. So we'll have to wait and see. Yeah. It will be an interesting session, really, because obviously into turn 1, you know, it's a rolling start, if I remember correctly. So it will be all about that braking and turning for turn 1. And obviously you've got the banking as well, about 5 degrees of banking. So there is, you can see it right there on the outside, there is an opportunity to go all the way around the outside. That is a possibility because of the limited traction, and it will be a strategic game. Thankfully for us in the commentary box, there's only 4 turns, so that's pretty good in terms of getting the names right? They don't even have names, just turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, and turn 4, would you believe?
I'm just going to surprise everybody and say turn 5 is now turn 3, just to really confuse everybody at home. But whilst we're sat here and having the warm-up and waiting, potentially see if anyone's going to come in for a bit of a chat with us, let us know in the live chats, wherever you're watching from, who you think will take victory here at the Wild West Motorsports Park here today. Will it be Kamikaze on his campaign for Crusade to try and take the championship here today? Or will it be someone else who manages to sink their way through the ranks over the humps and the bumps?
Look, I'll say, as we've got action in qualifying, or on warm-up with Ryan getting it really wrong, and there's a car parked on the inside barrier. Thankfully, the suspension here is able to get you back over the barrier, which is an interesting tactic if you want to play that one. You could go like a Paris-Dakar desert raid if you wanted to. Not sure that the penalty system would allow it, but there you go. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Kamikaze can hold his nerve. I mean, he's not new to anything. So, you know, he's been in championship battles before against yours truly, for example, or didn't necessarily win that one. So he's got a lot of experience in dealing with, well, unlike Ryan dealing with pit entry. Is he gonna save it? Yes, he did. 3 wheels, 1 wheel completely in the void. He did save it. But that is a very stylistic way to approach the pit lane. It will be very interesting. He's not slowing down at all. That is not how you exit the pit lane, by the way.
I'll give you a little fun fact as well for those watching along at home who may be thinking, and we saw the car go up on the barriers, what happens if they get stuck over them? Because you mentioned the suspension being able to save them somewhat. I discovered during my testing on Tuesday that it is in theory possible to get the car stuck just up on its front wheels. So the front wheel's on the floor, the back wheel's up in the air. Now, because these are two-wheel drive and only powered to the rear wheels, in theory, you can beach these cars on those barriers. Don't ask me how I found out.
Oh, I'll have to get that story at some point because that sounds like a legendary mess up, if you ask me. We have had the experience of that though with the Legends cars. If I remember correctly, it might have been Brendan Hyperstar, but I'm not sure about that one anymore. Just getting it stuck on the inside of turn 2, if I remember correctly. Just getting an oversteer, keeping the throttle planted, and as you described, just beaching it completely on the inside. It might have been Blueberry actually. Oh, that's... Whoa! Dukes of Hazzard and Cephalosis, and that was a front flip.
No words. Absolutely no words. Not only have they just done a front flip in a Pro 2 light truck, they did it over another car without hitting them. That is 10 points, because they landed it as well.
And Cephalosis, a man of many talents, everyone.
none of which practical, unfortunately, but a man of many talents.
Hey, well, look, if you can land it within the barriers and get it turning right afterwards, it can be an overtaking opportunity. In the Creator Series, you know, Gareth, very liberal with the black flags, as long as it's cool. So if you can do that during the race, we don't recommend it necessarily, but if you can do it during the race, maybe you might get an advantage out of it.
Well, with just under a minute, apologies, until we go racing, let's see how our drivers line up in the liveries on your screens. Kamikaze starts from pole position here this afternoon, with Ancephalosis starting just behind him on the front row in a beautiful police livery. Absolutely fantastic to see those two go side by side. No blue lights, though, in Kamikaze's rear mirror. Waiting for row 2. There we go. Brendan Hyperstar, the Oval champion, starts from 3rd place. He'll have the Cookie Monster for company as Monkey Matt starts from 4th. It's Punju and his beautiful rainbow-coloured Technicolor Dream Car, who starts from 5th place, with the fastest Doggo starting from 6th by Blueberry. It's Matt 212 in his toy-inspired livery here this afternoon. He'll start from 7th, with Sparks starting in 8th. Of course, a whole car decorated out in branding. Ryan L83 continues his streak of using Bluey as a livery concept for his cars. He'll start 9th place, with Els Indriani starting in 10th. 11th place will be the other police car of Super Noodle Bagel. He'll start 11th alongside him, the most luminous car in Nevada of Killer Cleo. Aerotech starts 13th after having some troubles in qualifying after unable to find first gear. He chose to use reverse gear for his attempts of a lap. El Taco Man in his Freedom livery starts 14th. And that will be your grid here for this afternoon. Cars are gridding up here, John. What do you reckon of some early predictions?
Well, first of all, I predict that Aerotech will find first gear. That's a good one. But I think really Sparks has to go for it, so I think he'll be doing some aggressive moves. You have people like Brendan Hyperstar that want to prove a point, that they can win races but not ovals, so you know, there's a lot of things going on. Some very experienced drivers starting at the back as well. For example, well, Aerotech already mentioned him, but Ryan L83 just wanting to get in on the action. But the biggest story here is, can Kamikaze keep it into turn 1?
Certainly do. Well, here we go. We will be underway in the next few moments. The countdown will begin for the Wild West 50 here in the Crash Series. 56 laps, give or take a few. And the formation lap gets underway with Kamikaze leading them off with the safety truck in front. And he's decided he already wants to go ahead of the pace car. And I believe wants to drop to the back, potentially.
Oh, wow. Okay, respect. Wow. Here we go. I mean, this is granted Ancephalosis, the easiest time into turn 1 possibly, although Brendan Hyperstar wants that P1. The pace car will slot in right after the jump here. Lucky to see that. And we are green flag racing right now as Ancephalosis takes it into turn 1. Brendan Hyperstar alongside. You can see already Ryan getting up the inside, trying to make amends for that disastrous qualifying, but Ancephalosis keeps it in turn 1.
It's the police that lead this car at the moment. The Oval Legend starts, currently holds second. Punju looks to the inside as Encephalosis goes deep, 3 wide, and a car spun around of the Cookie Monster of Monkey Matt, my apologies, who had got all sorts of out of shape as they made their way through the second corner. Lots of dirt being thrown up here in Nevada at the moment as the trucks drift around these corners, and you can see Kamikaze just looming in the distance, that all red livery, who took what is a self-imposed penalty to start from the back of the grid, now making his way through already. Punju to the inside of Brendan Hyperstar, looking to try and get a run down towards the line, but at the moment the race is all Ancephalosis.
Yeah, Brendan's struggling for traction here, going very, very wide. I will say dominoes there in turn 2 on lap 1 with everybody punting each other on the apex as Kamikaze. You can see just the confidence on the brakes and in the jumps. So the truck's not landing particularly well at the moment. Blueberry going backwards, I think struggling just with traction as well. You can see that twitchy steering right there. But Super Noodle Bagel also wanting to get in on the action, going in really deep. Kamikaze gets barged wide and nothing to do. And that is Super Noodle Bagel, I think, stuck on the inside barrier.
That is tagged by Blueberry, I believe, as he tries to save that police car, and you can see one wheel just riding, and I believe he might have had to tow it back to the pits. Unfortunate, but a lead change could be on the horizon here. Brendan Hyperstar looks for it in towards turn 4, still has that inside line. Can he get the traction?
No, well, both of them messed up the last part of the turn, so all Brendan Hyperstar had to be patient, and he would have got that, but just a little bit too anticipating that Ancephalosis had got it wrong. There you can see Ancephalosis going for the, I want to say defensive outside line, because you get better traction, but you have to profit from that traction, and Brendan Hyperstar sending the fastest lap of the race so far means that Ancephalosis under a lot of pressure here. You can back the car into the corners right there like that, but it's so easy to get it over rotated, and Punju looks like he has the most consistent performance at the moment. Look at him, just talking, chill, nothing showing any sort of pressure whatsoever. He's just looking at these top 2 thinking, when are they going to cave under pressure?
Very similar situation in which he saw himself in the Indy 500 just last week, happy to sit in 3rd or 2nd and just come along and kind of be dragged forward as he clipped the catch fencing ever so slightly. Nothing too major to write home about, but it's a position that he's quite happy just to sit in for the time being, as we see him try and chase down Brendan Hyperstar and Ancephalosis. We got the car flipping over. That could have been Kamikaze, but it will be the car, I believe,
Matt
of
212,
as he gets it all sort of out of shape in the rear bumper, and there's no other way to say this, flying off that truck.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be much advertising for Hot Wheels toward the end of this race, to be honest. Those body panels are flying off like there's no tomorrow. But then again, weight saving, I guess. It can protect the wheels, though, to have a little bit of bodywork there. That's why it is there at the end of the day. So Kamikaze not making up the positions as easily as we thought. So probably just struggling with the switchback, really, with that 2-wheel drive. So although he nearly went on top of the car of Matt 212 right now, getting to the inside, using the inside to hook a wheel over, and like rally style, hook a wheel in the ditch, and even though it puts you up, you've got more traction on the outside wheel, so you can carry the speed, and that has meant that he's got past Matt 212 quite easily. Look at him, just calculating everything. Yep, Cookie Monster in trouble ahead. Was that Cookie Monster? I think it
Monkey
was.
Matt.
Yeah, it was. Monkey Matt in trouble, and that is how easily it goes wrong.
Well, Aerotech's definitely found 1st gear. He might even have found 2nd and 3rd as well, as he sets the fastest lap of the race. And the last time of asking, Kamikaze now finds himself in 4th as Brendan Hyperstar, I think, has found the traction on Ancephalosis, or has he? As the lead changes hands once again as they climb up the hill. That outside line for Ancephalosis proving vital lap after lap. He's able just to carry that much more speed. And in the latter stages of the acceleration, that is where it's paying dividends to the number 24 car.
Yeah, look over the jumps though. Encephalosis taking the outside line, carrying the momentum. He gains at least 1 car length. Oh, Brendan getting very, very loose. Punju around the outside. This could be an opportunity if Punju can get the switch back. Not quite, but he's there. And that is an overtake right there, just briefly, although Encephalosis keeps the inside line. The confirmation for Aerotech there with the fastest lap of the race. I forgot that Aerotech does have a lot of experience in these stadium trucks. So we could see a dark horses in the background. Oh, that's another car up on the barrier on the inside there. I think that is the Hot Wheels car, Matt 212.
Yeah, Matt.
And there he goes back on the leaderboard. Can he get it removed? Can he do anything about it? The 2 back wheels. And this is what you were saying. Oh, wow. Okay. Round of applause. That is the way to recover.
He's going to come into the pit lane and out of the pit lane to recover what was almost certainly going to have to be a tow. He's not lost too much time. At least he will be able to recover what he has lost. We see Punji now makes his way up to 2nd place to battle it out with Encephalosis. Brendan Hyperstar really not having the best time here, although he looks again to that inside line. He gets the initial traction off the launch, but the overspeed that Encephalosis and now Punju get on the outside line is proving absolutely critical here at the moment. And just going back to what you said about Aerotech, 2 names with A's that I've got confused. Aerotech is a well-experienced drifter. He has a lot of experience in drifting and competition, so these cars probably step right into his wheelhouse.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at the cars through a long corner, or indeed, turn 1, turn 2 is the best way to look at this. So hopefully I'll finish the explanation till then. Here we go. Let's see. First of all, what happened? Yeah, just bumped by, I think that was the Cookie Monster car, so that's Monkey Matt. And then you just get a wheel stuck, and because the suspension is such a high travel, the wheel just extends further and further, and you can't actually get it back across. But Punju into the inside of turn 1 here. Can he get it stuck on Encephalosis? It looks like he will have the traction on the inside. And do you see that rotation there from Encephalosis, but also from Punju? As that's Kamikaze, by the way, in P4 right there. He's managed to make up a load of positions already. In drifting, if you go too slow, when you put power on, the front tires can just grip up and then rotate on the spot, really. Kamikaze up the inside, brilliant overtake, getting the best of that traction. And Encephalosis, I think, caving a little bit to pressure. That's a bump from Kamikaze. It will send him wide, but Encephalosis had to stop and put on the brakes there on the anchors, and so he is down to P4 now. So when you see that big rotation, that just means they're applying too much throttle for the speed, and it can just snap around and do a full 360 if they keep on throttle.
Yeah, it's a real interesting technique that they have to adopt here at the moment. Encephalosis looks like his tyres could be struggling already. We are expecting pit stops over the course of this race of 2 or 3, according to the drivers, because of course the tyres will start to wear out. They'll lose what grip they have. As we see Brendan Hyperstar now taking the lead, it's Kamikaze who came to the inside of Punju, and you would never believe that he started last because he's now found himself right on the back of the Oval Maestro.
Yeah, Aerotech up to P5 as well, so he'll be catching Encephalosis. There's a gap of about 2.5 seconds. There he is in the background, just going around turn 2. But these guys do have to get a move on as well. So look how neat Kamikaze is, just maximising the traction, not going too wide to minimise the meters. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of pit stops. I think also down to the fuel. It's only got a 45 litre tank, 12 gallons for across the pond measurations of fuel. So you have to probably pit, I think, if you're on throttle all the time, maybe 3 times over the course of this race, depending on the laps that we have. So 56 laps, yeah, probably 3 times. So there's a lot of strategy involved, and indeed, the unsafety car might make an appearance. You never know if somebody gets stuck on a barrier, for example. But yeah, a lot to happen here as Brendan Hyperstar is defending valiantly right now, not leaving a gap at all for Kamikaze up the inside.
Yeah, roughly expecting pit stops around lap 14. That's exactly over a quarter way through the race. 3 pit stops, 4 stints. If you want to break down the mass of that, that's roughly where we're going to go. Of course, fuel can go longer in these opening stints, but effectively when the fuel sorts to run out, they won't want to do a stop right at the end because, of course, they'll drop so far out of what would be a racing pack. They'll be somewhat in no man's land. Move here from Matt 212, trying to go around the outside of El Taco Man, who's come pretty much out of nowhere, started all the way down in P14, didn't partake in qualifying, but at the moment has started to climb up the positions and just loses a bit of bodywork for good measure.
Yeah, it hasn't really gone well for Mats though, has it? Did really good qualifying, but yeah, it looks like maybe some, not sure, some damage or something, but that truck is handling very weirdly. The rear suspension looks to have been collapsed or a little bit wonky, let's say. So we'll have to wait and see whether they're just waiting for a pit stop. You know, they've only got 3 laps to go, so it might be a strategy to just try and get there, as it looks like Ryan is struggling to get the turn in as Monkey Matt looks to get up the inside, but not quite there, as the battle between Aerotech and Punju looks to start as well. What happened to Punju? So he's quite far behind. Oh, clipped the inside wall, and then that means he's compromised. That was Ancephalosis going by. Compromised probably Aerotech as well. So just rotating too much, and as you saw, the front stalls, and then it just whips around, and there's nothing you can do, and he had to even select reverse there.
Yeah, you tag that barrier on the inside, and essentially, because the front wheels aren't powered, you don't have the ability to recover a slide as much as you'd like. These cars don't carry, as much as it may look like it, they don't carry that much speed through the corners, so you don't have the ability to even just lay off throttle, hope the car kind of comes around by itself. By the time you're committed, by the time you tap that barrier, it is pretty much a sentence of you heading into the wall and being unable to recover, unless you find reverse gear to pull yourself out of it. As you do see here, Kamikaze on the rear of Brendan Hyperstar, well and truly back in this race. I don't think it was ever a doubt in any of our minds that this was going to be the situation that we ended up in. You can see him just almost playing with his food before he decides to strike.
Yeah, Brendan Hyperstar, very, very quick driver here, and the quali lap from Kamikaze of 5/10 clear will be playing on everyone's mind when they're in a battle with him. They know that he has the pace, and it's all about not letting him get those gaps up the inside, for example, right there. And if there is a defensive move here to just keep the momentum, make sure you make the apex, and there's not much Kamikaze can do about it, because look at that gap, it just closes, and then Kamikaze can't get on the power because he has to keep it tight to the inside as well. So there is a very good defensive line happening from Brendan here, where he's prioritizing the exit speed. And as long as Kamikaze doesn't get up the inside, or even around the outside, there's not much he can do at this stage, although he's as close as he's ever been right now, even nudging Brendan Hyperstar, which is going to send both of them wide, probably.
This is the pro truck equivalent of essentially bump drafting in NASCAR that we're seeing here. As you can see just how close they were. He has backed off for the time being, as we've got the back marker of Super Noodle Bagel to deal with, and he comes into the pits on lap 14. Pretty much as expected. Did he get the car slowed down, or the truck slowed down enough? Because I think he spent about 90% of that pit entry off of those 4 wheels.
Would we expect anything else from Kamikaze? Quite literally, I don't think so. He's always been doing that just over the limit, and I do love to see that sideways entry into the pits. As here is a battle right now with Aerotech just trying to get away from Ancephalosis now. The move was done, I think, into turn 1. So you can see Ancephalosis just struggling with the traction now. Look, you've got Aerotech pulling at least a card length there, maybe 2 now at this point. And that will eventually wear down your tyres, overheat your tyres perhaps. And it's all about that aggressive turn-in that you can see Aerotech got. And that's going to gain him another car length as Ancephalosis goes a little bit deep, trying to keep the tyres lit up right now. He's still sideways up to the jumps, and now he's got it all sorted out. But look at that, 5 car lengths in 1 lap. And yeah, Ancephalosis in the pits right now. So as you said, on lap 14.
Yeah, I was kind of guessing that's what he was setting up for and prepping for when we saw him move to what would be the inside of the corner, but then he had a massive moment. The car snapped back out to the outside. So I was kind of doubting myself as to whether he was going to go into the pits. He does so in the end. We ride here with Punju, who I believe has made their stop already. I know they haven't. They're holding on for the time being. They're trying to make their way through, standing in P12 after what was an unfortunate bump into the wall.
It looks like Punju has made their stop. I'm just looking at the data here. It took a while to update. Updated literally while you were speaking, I think, is what happened there, which is an eternal curse in the commentary box. Is that Kamikaze spun round? I think it was. Kamikaze losing some time here. So in pitting early, he's got himself into traffic. I don't like calling drivers traffic, but to him it will be traffic, as he wants to get a move on and move up the order. And that will have cost him at least, I'd say, 3 or 4 seconds by the time he got moving again. So trying to overtake El Tacaman, got it down the inside already. El Tacaman will even give him a bump to keep the traction going. But El Zindrani is the next target as El Tacaman straight into the barriers there. That's not what you want to do. Will give you damage eventually. Oh, Matt 212 really getting it messed up in there, and that is a huge tag. That is the rear wheel broken, and I don't think he's going to be able to drag that into the pits. That is so unfortunate.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to, well, I'm surprised as to what's happened there. He is stranded. We have got a safety car or safety truck out on circuit. An interesting call from race control there, considering the car is somewhat abandoned off the circuit. But alas, we have got it out nonetheless to slow the action down and to allow the marshals to sprint across and just make sure that Matt is okay.
Yeah, that's so unfortunate. It is on pit entry, quite a dangerous place to be stopped on the outside of pit entry. But yeah, it looked like just tagged the separation barrier between the outside of turn 1 and the pit entry, and that just broke the entire suspension. Probably broke a drive shaft as well, and so there's no traction, no way of driving it into the pits. You could see he was trying to wiggle the steering, trying to get something sorted out, but that just indicates that Kamikaze was on the limit into the pit stop, and yeah, it could have gone much worse for him.
Yeah, in Matt 212's defense, I don't think that will be the first time, or sorry, the last time that we see someone do a very similar mistake. It is so easy to get it wrong as you're belting down towards that pit entry, because you've got to essentially thread the needle to make your way in towards pit lane. And then you are travelling at almost breakneck speeds in these cars. So it's just the finest of margins that Matt just was on the wrong side of this time.
Yeah, we'll say also that this has been a huge blunder. I won't say blunder because he pitted, obviously, due to necessity. But Kamikaze is not pitted under the safety car, so will lose out in terms of time as well. As I think people jockeying for position here in the pits, I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I think they might be struggling to find their pit box right there. So people stopping for fuel indeed. I'm not sure they'll be taking tyres, but they will be getting the fuel on board and probably fueling up right to the brim right now as we are under caution conditions, although the racing still carries on apparently for some.
Safety car in brackets optional is what I think our creators have understood that to be here this afternoon at the moment, and you say Kamikaze sort of lost out, but he actually didn't. He has managed to find his way back to the lead of this race.
Incredible. Isn't that incredible? I think maybe there was a thing from Brendan Hyperstar there, just hitting and not finding the right pit box straight away, although the timing seems to be doing a little bit of a... oh, of course, yes, I forget, the pit exit is a lot shorter, so although it says that Ancephalosis was in P2, Brendan's dropping back though. I wonder what's happening here, I wonder what's going on. Maybe the positioning has said he's in P7 or P8, and that has not gone well.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just to do where he was coming out of the pit lane. It's where it's been detected that he should kind of line up in this order. If you can see, we're not actually behind the safety truck at the moment. It has had to work itself out after Brendan Hyperstar made his way into the pits. So everyone else just trying to catch back up and form up into what will be the order to get racing again. Punju and Ryan L, Sparks and Monkey Matt, all of them just getting caught up, and there we go. Kamikaze has caught the safety truck, which I think for one of the first time this season, the cars aren't too dissimilar in size to that of the car leading them under caution.
Yeah, I think if anything, the safety truck might be a little bit taller as well. So just safety truck dwarfing and probably a lot heavier as well. So if anybody hits the safety truck, they will know about it. But yeah, an interesting one. That has definitely not played into Brendan Hyperstar's hands. And Kamikaze, he can't keep getting away with it, but he somehow he does, and that has got him all the way to the front. So that early pit stop will pay dividends for the moment, but the fuel might be an issue. He stopped on lap 11, if I'm correct, so he may be a few laps short in terms of fuel, but I'm not quite sure about that.
Yeah, I think somebody needs to check Kamikaze's car, because you know, the pace that he is able to lap at the moment is absolutely incredible. Killer Clea goes for her wave around, as does, I believe, Super Noodle Bagel. You can see those two cars just on the right-hand side progressing to get back onto what will be the lead lap before we get ready to go racing on lap 21 of 56. Car number 9, that's going to be El Zindriani as well, making their way round. And Blueberry just towing back to the pits there, really not having a good time out here on controller at the moment, as they find themselves all the way down in 12th place.
Yeah, it can be difficult if you tap a barrier or something. You can get damage, as we saw from Matt's perspective. So very tricky. And I think over the course of a race distance, Kamikaze, hang on a minute. What is going on here? Kamikaze ahead of the safety truck just for a brief second. I think he's just playing with us at this point. Look at him, just showboating.
At showboating, he most certainly is. Breaking news from race control. End of line for car 16 due to non-regulation fuel. That's going to be Kamikaze that has to head to the back of the pack, and that could explain why he's gone for those tips and those tricks. He'll have to make his way to the back of the pack. He will be essentially reset down to 10th or 12th. But that is breaking and definitely heartbreaking news for Kamikaze.
Switched on the four-wheel drive, so obviously, you know, got to tone it down a little bit. I was wondering how he got so much traction and speed down the straights, but there you go. It happens to the best of us. And we are green flag racing once again, so done just in time there. Encephalosis takes the first corner once again, nearly overcooks it though. And that means that, yeah, Kamikaze, sorry, no, Punju is getting challenged right now by Kamikaze, who's made a great start, it seems. And this is, that fuel, those fuel allegations aren't getting away from him right now with that start.
No, not at all. I think it was probably the shortest end-of-line penalty we've ever seen handed out here in the Creator Series iRacing Summer Shake-Up. He's already back in the podium position, standing third, with just Lionel 83 and Encephalosis in front of him. Punju, who will stand in fourth. Car number 13 makes their way up in towards what will be the final turn of this four-turn circuit. We are heading on to lap 22 of 56, approaching half-race distance already. And this is not going to be the first time we see creators battle this close after pit stops and safety car conundrums.
Lionel 83 looks to have a good position here. He's got the measure of this car and is more consistent. Punch up the inside, gets a tap. Kamikaze taps them both and decides, I want that P2. None of them are having it. Ryan's just pushing him towards that outside barrier, saying, not on my watch, pal. And he will maintain P2 at the moment. Here comes Monkey Matt, turns around Kamikaze, and now Punju has nowhere to go. Kamikaze stuck on Monkey Matt, has to engage reverse, but that has dragged both of them back onto the track, and I think they might have been collected by another driver. A lot of bodywork missing there. There definitely is some damage on both cars. And oh, is that Monkey Matt? I'm not quite sure if that was. It was Monkey Matt, yes, indeed. So Kamikaze just got collected, and then he's trying to engage reverse, which, you know, Monkey Matt was turning to the left to try and get away, and then Kamikaze selected reverse, and they all got tangled, and that is a lot of bodywork and probably a lot of damage. And just to add insult to injury, that is what I did see, is Monkey Matt just getting tagged and spun around right there. So a little bit of argy-bargy, and now it means that Kamikaze, but also Monkey Matt, has a lot of work to do.
I don't want to ever say that was a retaliation hit from one of our drivers, but I think there was no other way to potentially describe what just happened between Kamikaze and Monkey Matt, although they do find themselves in 8th and 9th respectively, so they have got a little bit of time to make it up. We're watching here as the front of the pack. We got Brendan Hyperstar that sits in 5th place. Punju just ahead of him, Aerotech, who's had an almighty climb after the safety car restart, finds himself up in the podium positions of 3rd, Lionel 83 and Encephalosis, maintaining the status quo up at the top, 1 and 2 respectively between the two of them. Lap 28 will have reached halfway, and boy is it flown here, John.
Yeah, Encephalosis is driving off into the distance at the moment. Look at that gap, 3 seconds and climbing. Ryan doing a great job of defending, but Aerotech will probably want this position now at some point. I will say, steaming up the inside, can't get the traction though, can't get the turn in. But I will say probably that move was a retaliator, because I think Kamikaze blamed Monkey Matt for going up the inside and just tagging the rear of the car, which pushed Kamikaze into the spin. So a little bit unfortunate there, but I can understand the frustration. And also, both of them just getting hooked on each other's bodywork didn't help either. Aerotech going very aggressively there, tagging the rear, but just got away with it, as behind Punju gets a little bit of bodywork removed by Brendan Hyperstar. So everybody going the hammer and tongs at this one, let's say.
I think Encephalosis might have turned on the police lights on the top of that car, because that's how well he's steaming away from the rest of this pack. Ryan L83 holding Aerotech at bay as Punju falls victim to Brendan Hyperstar, who can see a full 360 at the moment, and now can see Punju in his rear view mirror as they make their way up towards turn 1. Almost a reverse entry there for Aerotech, as he almost tried to go for it in towards turn number 1. He loses so much time though to the likes of Ryan L83, who had a better run round the outside. But that is the drifting element that we're seeing coming into play from Aerotech.
I know exactly what happened on the inside of that truck. He just turned it in full lock and then went full throttle, and it snapped too much, so he had to turn the wheel entirely the other way, which then snapped the car, and he went onto the outside of the track. Meanwhile, Ryan L83 just steamed up the inside on the switchback. And I think Aerotech was more concerned about where Ryan was going than saving his snap of oversteer, so that got him into all sorts of trouble. Here have another possibility on the inside right now of turn 1. It looks to be good at the moment. Ryan really can't do much about that. A big jump from Ryan, and it landed sideways, and that is Aerotech firmly up the inside and into P2. But also Brendan Hyperstar challenging. The gap to Ancephalosis is now 4 seconds at the front. Just want to point that out.
Certainly is, and he is running away with it at the moment. It is the battling that is going on 2nd through 5th that is only increasing that lead. Of course, it is only a short circuit. Let's not forget, about 50 seconds or so a lap, which is allow Ancephalosis to essentially pull so far away. On a regular circuit, it probably wouldn't look this dramatic, but because it is such a short run through 4 turns indeed, it is the Wild West Motorsports Park that is almost exaggerating the one that finds himself in 1st place. We're watching here with, I believe, that's going to be Brendan Hyperstar trying to once again retake the place from Ryan L83 in towards turn 1. He's got the slipstream, he's got the toe. Oh, because he dived to the inside. That's a mistake from Aerotech. Finds himself in the barrier, finds out wide, and that's almost again a reverse entry from 2nd and 3rd. Which way are we going to go? 3 wide as we go over the jump in towards the 2nd corner. It's Ryan L83 who comes out on top. Aero might try and sniff a wheel down the inside. Brendan Hyperstar, though, is not going to allow it, and oh, it's a mistake from Ryan.
Yeah, he just got it stopped on the apex, just carrying a little bit too much speed, and then Brendan Hyperstar had nowhere to go there, and Aerotech back up to P2, so it returns to exactly how it was. I think that all started with Aerotech on the last jump, just getting a little bit more compression on the suspension. The rear of the car bounced up, and then he hit the brakes, and only the front tyres were gripping, and so it rotated him to the outside of the corner, and then he had to back out of it completely. So big mistake there for Aerotech, but look at the speed he's got. Still, the gap to the leader has come down by 0.5 of a second in all of that, so probably Ancephalosis having all sorts of trouble as well. Brian Hyperstar up the inside. Can he get it done this time? Ryan defending well. Oh, Brian Hyperstar up the banking there, up the barrier, but he managed to get it sorted out. That was a lucky one because you can get your wheel stuck, as we've seen before. But everybody trying to find that last millimetre to overtake, and it's not happening for the moment. Kamikaze still P8 as well. I think maybe some damage on that truck, and he's struggling a lot right now, as Monkey Matt is 8 seconds behind as well, with presumably even more damage than that.
Yeah, we're approaching the start of lap 29. I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a couple of other drivers in for fuel stops here. We approached half race distance. We're over halfway through this race already. Would you believe it or not, we have gone through so fast as Ryan taps the barrier with the rear right of his car. This could allow a good opportunity for for Brendan Hyperstar, my apologies, to try and make a move in towards turn 1. He's favored to the outside line, but into the pits comes Brendan Hyperstar. Aerotech sets the fastest lap of the race so far.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Aerotech has really got the hammer down right now. 1.5 seconds in 1 lap, and it's closing even more on this lap. That is a huge amount of pressure to put on Ancephalosis. He's had the track to himself, and look at the track conditions changing, by the way. That grip will make it even more difficult to have consistency, as the tyres will grip up and lose traction a little bit more than before. You will have the possibility to perhaps get a fastest lap, but it will be a seat of your pants type affairs. Look, Aerotech using the same trick as Kamikaze up that inside banking, just to be able to get more grip on the outer tyre to have the traction, and it's making a huge difference. That's 0.7 of a second again on this lap, and look at how Ancephalosis is pushing really hard but not getting much for it.
It's a bit of a double entendre at the moment, with that essentially a racing line forming, as you said, the grip that's going to be available to our drivers. And considering so many of them, as we just see with Aerotech, love throwing the rear end about to try and make it into the corners to slow the car down, that grip in a double-edged sword effectively is going to nullify the attempts to be able to do that. The car's going to grip up a lot easier. They won't be able to try and throw it in as much because the car will slide significantly less over the course of each corner. So they've got to adapt to every corner, the condition of every one, because all 4 are going to be at different stages at the moment.
Yeah, there's kind of a difficulty in that the racing line can start to become a little bit polished. So you go past that optimal grip level, and then it becomes a really shiny surface, almost with like a little bit of rubber laid down on it, effectively is the best way I could describe it. Oh, look at that, for example. Ancephalos is putting a wheel onto the dirt on the outside, which can provide you a good amount of grip for traction. So look at that drift by Kamikaze exiting the pit lane, just providing a little bit of attention there. But yeah, Clear wants to possibly get out of the way of this one, but there's no need to do that on these tracks. You don't have to get out of the way. But that is Ryan really up the inside. Lovely overtake there. I think, yeah, that was Ryan exiting the pits, if I remember correctly, on the last lap. So, yeah, he just wants to get ahead and move on. But El Takaman says, no, not for the moment. And, yeah, with the dirt on the outside, it can be really tricky because you think you've got grip, and then all of a sudden the rear of the car snaps, and it's over and done with. As no, El Takaman takes it back.
Yeah, the two battling out, equal age tyres between the two of them, both of them on 15 lap on tyres, as Ryan's rear end almost having a bit of damage. Oh, that's not a place you want to try and punt another car as you go over a jump. It's so easy just to unsettle these trucks, and the moment you're airborne, you are unable to do anything about it. Let's jump up to the lead of the race, though, where Aerotech has claimed first place. He's got past Ancephalos.
I think there was a bit of a mistake there because Ancephalos is dropping a lot of time, 2 seconds on these first 2 corners alone, so that's not very good. Let's have a look. So on board with Ancephalos here, just bouncing a little bit, and my guess going to go in too deep. Yeah, oh, wow, and steams it up the inside, goes Aerotech, but that distracted Ancephalos. He tried to put the power down and then just got completely rotated around. I don't even know how he saved that one, but it lost him a lot of time, and I think he's going to do the same, trying to catch Aerotech into turn 2. So a lot of time lost there, and yeah, Aerotech nearly got it wrong there on pit entry, but Ancephalos can go another lap. So interesting pit dynamics coming on here.
Yeah, it's a real host of strategies, a differentiation, shall we say, and everybody doesn't quite know which way they're going to go. They've extended their stints by about 5 laps compared to what we were potentially expecting. We're roughly expecting them to do 3 pit stops pretty much on 14:28 and then 32 to see this race out. Sorry, 42. My maths is nowhere near correct here this afternoon. But obviously with that safety car period that we saw earlier on, they've extended the tyre life, they've extended the fuel that they've got in the cars to a significant degree by the looks of it. So everybody's able to run slightly longer as we see what is the top 5 yet to pit after the second stints.
Yeah, Punju's on a 19-lap stint at the moment, which is incredible. That's definitely eking out the fuel. Maybe even thinking about doing a 2-stop at this point in this race. So that could be a huge gain of about 50 seconds in the pits, which can just put the whole of the race on another footing, basically. Oh, just a tag there from Punju, and he's going to try and go around the inside. Worst mistake ever, as El Takaman kept the throttle in and blocks the door right there. I'd say, I mean, not much you can do there. You can't really complain, and Punju's going to let him back past as well. So I love the sportsmanship, and yeah, just a little tag from Punju creating that incident, and that's how easily it can go wrong. And once the tag happens, there's not much you can do about it.
No, not at all. And again, just being the rear-wheel drive cars, you can't have the front power to try and drag them out of what is essentially an uncontrolled spin at many points of this. We are seeing a lot of dirt and rubble building up off that racing line. Kamikaze sets the fastest lap of the race at 52.7. So the driver that currently stands down in P9 after, I don't want to say an unimpressive run because it hasn't been. He's just got caught up in things that weren't necessarily part of the game plan. But he is trying to pull his way back through the field, but you can see the gap between El Zingiani and Brendan Hyperstar. Of course, the difference between drivers that have pit and drivers that haven't. Obviously, if you look up to Punju, he's the top of those drivers that haven't pit yet. There is a significant gap there.
Yeah, there is indeed, and the difficulty again that Kamikaze is having is a little bit of just being out of position in terms of stints with everyone else, as you said. And that's El Zingiani just battling with Kamikaze at the moment. And, you know, you don't want to lose time. Both of them don't want to lose time. El Zingiani trying to... Oh, wow. Good overtake by El Zingiani up the inside. That is... Kamikaze, I think, was out by that one. Didn't expect the overtake to happen, but I love to see it. And it could have worked out really well. Maybe there's an opportunity. No, a little bit too far back into turn 2. But this is what these two don't want to be doing, is losing time battling while everyone else is on perhaps a different strategy. Although I will say Kamikaze has more to lose than El Zindrani, but it was a very good attempt. As here we have Punju still trying to overtake El Takaman, so El Takaman having a really good race at the moment, P4 as it stands.
Absolutely, we are on lap 36 of 56, 21 and a bit to go here in the race of the Wild West Motorsports Park in Nevada. It's a fantastic circuit, of course, no longer with us in real life. It's sad one that closed down in 2021, unfortunately did not survive the pandemic after opening just back in 2012, so it lasted about 9 years and was a fan favourite amongst those involved in motorsport in the western United States. Fans would travel a considerable distance to come watch races that partook here, but alas, unfortunately, one of the great motorsports venues that just were unable to generate the revenue after only being open such a short time.
Yeah, it's a real difficulty. I'd say one of the outlandish tracks, I'd say definitely a fan favourite, that's for sure. And you can see why with those huge jumps. Punju up the inside, can he get it? Finally, no, El Takaman just has that traction. And that is that Aerotech challenging? No, who is that? That's Super Noodle Bagel, isn't it, challenging? Because that can't be Antipolosis. So Super Noodle Bagel challenging is just going, hey, I've got nobody else to race against, so you guys are going to bear the brunt of that. Aerotech has pitted now, so P6 for Aerotech, coming out in front of Kamikaze by quite a margin, but he needs to get a move on, and that is exactly what he's doing by getting past Super Noodle Bagel. So these moves for between Punju, El Takaman and Aerotech, these are for position here. So I think they'll make Aerotech's life as difficult as possible. But yeah, going briefly back to the track, it is one of those where you have to take a specific driving style to it, and I think it probably difficult on the cars as well, which may have had a little bit to do with its closure, perhaps, with teams maybe not being very happy. But, you know, the official reason's not out there as far as I can see, so unfortunate, but definitely a favourite on iRacing, I'll say that much.
It certainly is, and I've seen many. I mean, we've raced here twice this season. Let's not forget, in what is, I think, a 10-round calendar in the grand scheme of things. It's come up twice over the course of the season, and again, our drivers absolutely love it. They loved it in the Legends cars that we raced here back in our special event too, the Legends across the licenses. Of course, they're really enjoying it here with the Pro 2 light trucks, and of course, we are over halfway through this race. It's had everything in so far. There's been spins, no major crashes, but I have seen these trucks do a front flip earlier on, if you did manage to catch that.
Indeed, it was in the warm-up, wasn't it, to the race, if I remember correctly. So not something that's been replicated, unfortunately, as Aerotech goes up the inside of El Takaman, gets it done cleanly, and I don't think El Takaman could do anything about that. You've got Brendan Hyperstar just behind him as well, looking to get in on the action. And here we go with El Zindrani. This is entering the pits. What goes on? Well, a little bit sideways and into the barrier and up onto the roof. Can they get it rotated? Oh yes, well recovered. Just keeping the throttle planted, but looks like they've had some damage or lost drive or something, as they have not. Oh, that's El Taco Man, and that's Monkey, not Monkey Matt, that's Matt's 212, who's gone all the way over the barrier. Can he get it back? And I think that is a caution. So Matt 212 getting it back on track, but that was an unfortunate tag, and hopefully we'll be able to see the start of that incident. I'm going to guess it was Matt 212 going. Oh no.
Oh.
El Taco Man just stuck on the inside, so that incident has happened earlier, but Matt 212's just approached and gone, I've got nowhere to go.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely easy to do when you've got cars going like that. The front end gets nudged and up on the barrier you go, and actually an uncommon mistake, you can see from Matt 212 over rotates the car and then essentially has got a blockade in his way. Very lucky that he didn't get caught with the rear wheels kind of dangling there, but makes his way back on towards the circuit and back in towards the pit lane and enters in a dramatic fashion, let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's not the ideal pit entry, but then again, probably a lot of damage there. Yeah, not much you can do. I think from Matt 212's perspective, that was, if I apply throttle now, I'll be able to turn before I reach El Takaman. And the problem is, what happened then is El Takaman started reversing as well, and so they collided necessarily. So everyone in the pits here, it's around that time where you can pit just about and get to the end, possibly, of the race. So that is ideal for those who haven't pitted, not ideal for those who have. So again, another strategy in the mix here. But yeah, it's one of those things where these stadium trucks always bring in something unexpected. They are really just that kind of championship. Loose dirt on track, so not even damage, just a lot of let's say material debris being dragged onto the track.
I want whatever race controller drinking at the moment. But yeah, loose dirt on the track, the official reason as to why the pace car's been brought out to essentially nullify this race and allow drivers to get back into their assigned positions, and pretty much everybody will be allowed to get themselves back on towards the lead lap. The lucky dog rule being applied to pretty much everybody that's been lapped here at the moment, which will lead to a rather thrilling end to this race. All 14 cars will go scrap it out until lap 56, until we decide who is essentially the fastest man, woman or doggo on the dirt.
Indeed, there's still a lot of laps and a lot of opportunities to put your name up there, that's for sure. And everybody will want to, because not everybody will be a fan of the open wheel car that we have for the finale. So it will be an interesting one. And Blueberry, I think, just exiting the pits there. So we'll get out in front of the safety car. I love the fact that you have to drift through the pit exit right there. You know, it's green flag racing by that point, so you have to just go completely flat out. An interesting thing also about this championship, one of the first that I watched, the Championship Off-Road Racing Series, at about 2 a.m. I think it is, UK time. It was on, it doesn't exist anymore, the channel, but Motors TV it was on, and I remember every time I couldn't sleep, I was on there watching it, about 40 minutes of racing right there, with people just going side by side for lap after lap, and a very good memory of mine. So I have a lot of strong attachment to these type of trucks and this type of racing, and they're replicating that amount of energy right now in this race.
I do remember one of the biggest crashes that I remember watching as a kid, or at least as a slightly younger motorsports fan, was watching the stadium trucks. I believe they were going, it was either through Adelaide or Brisbane, one of the two. It was down in Australia, and they were taking all the jumps, and one of the trucks just got very loose over one of the jumps and ended up pretty much flipping. With, I believe, one or two others that kind of got caught up because of just how close they're racing. I remember turning around and go, you know what, this is absolutely fantastic. It's carnage, but I love it.
The on the tarmac, the ones with the artificial jumps there. Yes, okay, we are talking about the same one. Yeah, those are insane because you have the safety barriers, which for you know, other racing series normally are overkill. You know, it's per regulation where they have to be completely 2 times what is actually necessary for good reasons. And then these stadium trucks show up, and on the jumps they just go about 1 meter higher than the safety barriers, and you're just praying that they don't go sideways on the jumps. It is absolutely insane, and the amount of air that they get, the amount of suspension. No way. Is that No, that's Super Noodle Bagel stuck on the inside. So you said it could happen. There you go.
How do you manage that on a safety car restart? I'm sure we're going to get a replay in the next couple of moments. Hopefully we'll get a view of this from on board with him. I think this is slightly earlier on from where the incident was. But you can see, you can see the pack up ahead of front of him. So maybe a little bit of anticipation as he's trying to make his way up, or maybe trying to get a lap back. I think he's trying to go for that wave round.
Yeah, I'm going to guess he's going to go up the inside, and another car's not going to see him and just push him onto the barrier. Let's see. Let's see if the prediction is right. So up the inside for the moment. Nobody spotted him. Oh no, he's just done it by himself. I can't believe that. He's just gone to the inside, and that has just been wedged right there. He's just managed to get himself free. And it looks like we are going racing next lap, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, one more lap here under the control of the pace car, which gives Super Noodle Bagel one more attempt to go for what will be a wave around. Hopefully this time he's actually able to complete a wave around without hitting quite possibly the only stationary thing on this circuit. As you see on the inside, everyone else trying to make their way around. Blueberry there just behind, I believe that was also El Zindriani, just making their way in towards the pack. And the pack looks a little bit out of order at the moment, according to our timing graphic on the left, but that will rectify itself when we get ready to go racing, because I see Punja in the background there, P9, who I believe is ahead or behind El Zindriani for whatever reason, who stands in and amongst. I wonder if El Zindriani has to go for their own wave round. Doesn't look like it. Almost looks like they're going to line up 3 rides. And there we go. El Zindriani does make her way through for her wave around. We are heading on to turn 4 at the end of this pace car period. We're about to go racing on lap 45. 12 laps to go here at the Wild West Motorsports Park. And ladies and gentlemen, do not go anywhere because it is absolutely carnage when we go restart racing. Matt 212's promised carnage. Let's get ready to go racing again.
Go waiting, and there goes Aerotech just jumping, I think, a little bit too soon. And that means that Brendan Hyperstar can get a really good drive as well, maybe around the outside. Kamikaze to the inside already, P3. So that is one to watch for. Yeah, Ryan L82 trying to get around the back. Oh, Kamikaze over rotating a little bit, but still past Brendan Hyperstar with that. So a lot of jostling for position for P2 here. They're going to back it in really, really aggressively into turn 2. Try and get it rotated. Looks like Brendan Hyperstar has got it done well, but that is Monkey Matt with a bit of damage. Collision with Punju, if I'm correct.
Yeah, the rear fender just coming off, I think, or actually managing to hold itself on by the barest of margins. It's Aerotech the lead. Kamikaze still stands in second. Brendan Hyperstar looks to the outside, and Ryan L83 looks to try and almost make it 3 wide in towards the 4th and final corner. Kamikaze almost gets loose there. Manages to get the save in the most incredible of fashions and still has the win in his mind.
Oh, did you see the steering snap? The wheels just instantly snapped to the right to correct it. Whoa, Aerotech going very aggressive on that Scandinavian flick. Tagged by Kamikaze. Kamikaze's gone round, has collected everybody. Brendan Hyperstar over the barrier. Will he be able to save it? Yes, they have. But that is a huge amount of a mess. Ryan L83 involved in that. Sparks. Monkey Matt has been spun around, if I'm correct. So a lot of people just getting damaged or getting hindered by that collision, with Kamikaze just going a little bit too deep into turn 1.
That's unfortunate, and that is unfortunately the reality of racing. Sometimes 3 wide further back between Killer Cleo, I believe that's Matt 212, and Sparks getting involved. The Hot Wheels car looking to the inside. Matt 212 has said he's on his Villanar on the final stages of this race, and he has warned anybody not to spin him because I think there could be dire consequences for those that maybe try and get involved.
I just imagine him standing at the doorway saying, "I am the one who spins." But he's definitely going to have to put the hammer down right now, as P7 at the moment with quite a big gap to Brendan Hyperstar, as Punju a little bit under pressure from said Brendan Hyperstar. So that damage, and yeah, here we go. So Kamikaze's been spun around. That's Brendan Hyperstar and Ryan L83, and this is what happened to Monkey Matt. So getting collected, literally pushing against Brendan Hyperstar. That's Matt also driving over the top of the bonnet there, so probably quite a bit of damage there, and all the way to the back for Monkey Matt. That is so unfortunate for a collision that he had nothing really to do with. So look at that, Kamikaze all the way spun around, and he's just trying to get away. But because he just applies throttle, as I said, the car just spins around, and then he's facing Brendan Hyperstar going, hey, one of us is facing the wrong direction.
Yeah, it's a really unfortunate situation that I think just all came together. It was 3 wide for a moment. Cars not necessarily noticing that others were in their peripheral vision, and unfortunately 3 does not go into 1, as we've just done the mass there in towards the first corner. As you see Brendan Hyperstar once again just launching almost backwards into these corners and getting the car slowed down appropriately. But I'm sure Punju will be a little bit on edge as he sees the rear end of Brendan Hyperstar's car sliding into the corners to try and get the car slowed down and stopped.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one, really, because Brendan has a lot of pace. Punju has a lot of consistency, so will they be able to put each other under pressure? I have no idea. We'll have to wait and see. Sparks, remind you that Sparks needs to win this race, realistically, to keep the championship hopes alive. So Kamikaze in P2 at the moment is not ideal for him whatsoever. Aerotech doing his best, though, to deny the win to Kamikaze. It looks like he's putting out a 1/10 of a second or 2, but not too much. As look at that traction now. It's quite bad, even toward the outside of the corner. So I think drivers will be struggling more and more in the turn 1, turn 2 complex. As we see Brendan going in really, really deep in there, trying to get the undercut on. Was that Punju? Yes, it was. Still fighting with Punju, but couldn't make it into turn 1. Maybe he'll try turn 2 around the outside.
Yeah, still you can see just how locked in is Brendan Hyperstar. He's got Punju just in front of him, the number 13 Rainbow Technicolor Dream Truck, and at the moment trying to defend from that Oval Racing Maestro. It is looking to be working at the moment for Punju, although time will tell to see if Brendan Hyperstar is able to try and work his way through as the laps continue to count down here in Sparta, Nevada. It's Aerotech that still leads by over 2 seconds back to Kamikaze. Are we going to see Aero manage to hold on to this lead here?
I mean, at the moment, it looks like they're even paced at the top, so really interesting. You've got Ryan backing off a little bit toward Aerotech, to be honest. Not Aerotech, Ancephalosis, my apologies. So yeah, an interesting dynamic there in the fight for the podium. And it looks like Brendan's just struggling to even maintain pace with Punju, so maybe a little bit of damage on the truck since that collision. But it will be interesting to see as he's actually getting challenged by Matt212, who said he will do everything to get up the order. Well, now's his opportunity. How hard will he fight for it? We're about to find out with about 6 laps to go still.
Yeah, still everything on the line here. Nobody knows which way it's going to swing because it could quite possibly go anybody's way. We know how possible it is for Kamikaze to come back right at the final moment of asking. I mean, you know that from WRC. Kamikaze sometimes just finds pace out of absolutely nowhere.
Oh yeah, yeah, he's never one to rule out, even toward the end, even the last lap, he will find something. A little bit of body work there. I think Matt maybe collided with the pit entry wall, so not ideal. But yeah, Kamikaze, especially in rear-wheel drive, he just has this way of finding that extra 1% of grip. Although, I will say this, that's twice that Kamikaze has got it a little bit wrong, as there is Matt being very aggressive, saying to Brendan, "Hi, I'm here in case you haven't seen me in the mirrors and in case your spotter is asleep. I'm going to take that position off of you, and no, I'm not interested in your opinion, it's going to happen." It looks like it has happened. Literally bullied him out of the way at the moment. That is truck racing in a nutshell. You are allowed to put your elbows out and have a little bit of a go. As Matt up the inside, look at the amount of grip on the outside. Still quite high. He managed to keep the throttle in, did Brendan, but it doesn't matter. Matt is on the inside and will be able to slam the door firmly shut.
Yeah, Super Noodle Bagel made his way in towards the pits. I'm not quite sure what's happened to his car. He's had a pretty rough day out here at the moment as Brendan Hyperstar with what could only be described as an up and under. Absolutely phenomenal move.
Well, yeah, caught me by surprise. I thought, oh, he's not going to get traction off of that one. Matt decides, hey, if you can do it, I can do it better. And Brendan's going to keep the throttle in, but he's done it. So both of them have pulled off the exact same move on each other in 2 corners. Impressive racing.
This is exactly how aggressive racing should be involved, especially in cars and trucks like this. They can sustain the little taps, the little whacks that you throw at them. They are more than happy to throw it down the inside, and we're seeing moves thrown left, right and centre. Matt212 said on that safety car restart, "Don't spin me, I'm on my villain arc," and I think we're seeing what he meant.
What, did you see the grip that he got on the inside there? Just chucking the wheel over the bank. That might be the winning strategy if you are fighting for position, just to get the traction. You can see Matt's finally understanding you've got to drive it in a little bit deep, but just enough so you can keep the car moving. If you get the car stopped on the apex, that's when you lose a lot of speed. So let's see here if they can really do it. Well, it looks like they were getting it turned in okay. And Kamikaze is catching Aerotech. He might run out of laps. I don't think he will. But Aerotech now a little bit under pressure as the gap to Ryan increases, but it's now only 1.4 seconds to the lead.
3 laps to go when we cross the line, and the gap is 1.5 seconds. For Kamikaze, last lap was 0.2 quicker. Let's see what it was at the last split across. It's 2.5 tenths. According to my maths, he's not going to be quick enough to catch up to Aerotech if he continues at the same pace. He crossed the line with about 3 tenths gap between himself and Aerotech, but you never know. We have seen mistakes leading into final laps. Aerotech has been known to sometimes make mistakes when trying to drift and swing along, and Aerotech at the moment has control. We've got 3 to go. 54, 55 and 56. You can count them down on your hands, ladies and gentlemen, and it will be Aerotech that has control over Kamikaze.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one because you can attack from about, I'd say, 0.5 of a second back. You can steam up the inside and hope that the other driver leaves you room. But then again, defending as well. You can drive it in deep with 0.5 advantage and just get the traction on the outside and ensure that a driver can never get alongside you. I think Kamikaze just looking around thinking, what can I do? What is the gap? And yeah, it will be interesting to see. He's definitely attacking very aggressively. The gap's 6 seconds now to Ryan. I think he's settled for P3 at the moment and defending. So it's between these two for your race victory today, as the gap's still 1.3 seconds, so nothing to choose between them. Both of them with equal experience in this type of machinery, I think.
Yeah, last lap splits actually only put them about, what was that, 0.07 of a second between the two between the two drivers. It is still Kamikaze that's marginally quicker over lap 54, but we've got just over a lap to go of racing. Aerotech looks comfortable here in Nevada, and at the moment he will be looking to try and pull his way through. He's done 22 laps on these tyres compared to the 25 of Kamikaze. The lap times are looking quick. He looks in control. He's very comfortable in these conditions where the grip doesn't seem to be with him. Drives it in deep, hopes it sticks, and it certainly is sticking for Aerotech at the moment. You can see the posture change as he tries to come to what could be happening here in the iRacing Creator Series. Everyone else will be on the edge of their seat, seeing what is about to happen in front of them. He's got 2 corners to go here, and that's Super Noodle Bagel who finds himself up on the side of the barriers. Aerotech won't be too concerned about him, though. And Kamikaze, I think, has had a mistake. Look at how far back he's dropped off, right at 83. Oh, he's passed him through, and Kamikaze's on the side of his car on the final lap of the race. It's all gone wrong for Kamikaze. Pushing too hard he was, but the spoils will go to the victor. It's Aerotech that's been picture perfect here this afternoon. He comes from a drifting background. He's drifted his way to the line now. Aerotech wins it. Aerotech wins it in Las Vegas.
I'm speechless. What just happened to Kamikaze? Aerotech has done everything he needed to do, including showboating at the end. Ryan will get P2. Incredible stuff. Consistency with Ancephalosis leading for a majority of the race, but he's well. Punju collecting. Yeah, we saw that coming. Yeah, we saw that one coming. Matt 212 collects. I think that was Brendan Hyperstars. No, El Sindrani. Everybody coming to blows at the end. And there's a lot of, I think, just argy-bargy going on, saying, you did it to me during the race, and I'll do it to you afterwards. But, yeah, very good driving from Ancephalosis. Punju managing to fend off Brendan Hyperstar as well. So wonderful stuff. Matt 212 managed to make up the position, so he did do well to his word right there. But what a disaster for Kamikaze at the end, it must be said. Maybe just attacking too much, but if I had a penny for every time a car had been stuck on the barrier on the last lap, I'd have 2 coins, and it's weird that it's happened twice.
Wow, what a race. Aerotech led for 17 laps, just over 1/4 of these 56 lap race that we had here in Sparta, Nevada. What a race, and what a victory as well to take it on the dirt road, a track that we've been to once before in the season. Very little emotion on the face of Aerotech at the moment. He is, at the moment, I believe, in a bit of a subathon at the moment, and he must be absolutely shattered and tired. But it does look like we're going to get donuts. Don't forget as well, he qualified in reverse. He didn't do a lap forwards.
Yeah, all the way from the back of the pack to the front. You can't argue against that, can you? Look at the skill of those donuts. Lovely to see. Definitely, there's some satisfaction right there. Look at that. He definitely wanted that one. We knew he could do it, but whether he could do it right from the back of the pack was the question. The answer is a definitive yes.
You don't see races that quite often are won from the back of the pack, and Aerotech today has proved that it is not only possible, but certainly plausible as well. What a way to win the race, and what a way to potentially try and announce your way in towards more dirt racing victories if we ever come back to these endeavours in this part of the racing calendar again. I'll hand it over to John to share the news.
Well, according to the points that we have, Kamikaze is our champion, if I am correct in saying that. So, we've had people fight him the entire time of the season. We've tried everything from the driving point of view in terms of our drivers to give or bring the fights to him, let's say. But he's been so consistent. Unfortunately, this race, not really consistent, tagging the barrier, just getting a wheel up there. And it's ironic that I said consistency just as that happened. But that wasn't enough to deny. And yes, that is an interesting statistic. I think possibly the only driver to have won the championship on his roof, apart from Sebastian Loeb.
Well, yeah, of course, multi-disciplines that we're talking about there, but Kamikaze, what a way to win it. Not his first victory in the Creator Series, of course, not his first championship victory in the Creator Series. Has won a WRC title or 2, I believe, back in the day, if you remember, or managed to catch any of those broadcasts. Super Noodle Bagel doing what I said could happen earlier, and actually getting beach with the rear wheels off the track or off the dirt surface. So I'm glad someone managed to experience what I had to.
I just find it really frustrating now. Look at Kamikaze; he's trying so hard, and hoping that somebody pushes him back onto his wheels, and it just did not happen. But that is a way to win a championship, isn't it?
It certainly is. And here's your full race results after 56 laps here at the Wild West Motorsport Park. It's Aerotech that wins it, 10 seconds ahead of Ryan L83, with Ancephalosis claiming the last of the podium places. He finishes in P3. Punji finishes 4th, with Matt 212 finishing in 5th after his Villain Arc era driving. Brendan Hyperstar, he may be the maestro at ovals. Unfortunately, couldn't translate that here to dirt roads this afternoon. Sparks flew as Sparks finished in 7th place, with Monkey Matt finishing just 1 place below his namesake in 8th place. Killer Cleo comes home in the top 10, a victory or a race result that she'll be happy with Kamikaze winning the championship from 10th place, and I believe a lap down according to that information. Els Indriani finishes in 11th, with Blueberry finishing in 12th place. Probably the best driving that I've seen on a pad all season long. Super Noodle Bagel, after trials and tribulations of driving on the dirt road, finishes in 13th, with El Taco Man finishing in 14th. And we've had a sneaky producer sneak in. He was 57 laps down, unfortunately, finishes 15th.
The producer not doing very well this race, to be honest. I think finishing a lap further down in the entire race distance.
Not the way that you'd like to see it through, but I can tell you what, we have got the man of the hour in, Mr. Aerotech. What a victory to take here at the Wild West Motorsport Park. Talk us through it.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. I know if you talk to Kami, he'll probably have a bunch of, Kami-isms about it, but he kept me really honest there in the last run. We both decided early on when we saw kind of our times and everybody else's times, like, yeah, we could probably start 1st and 2nd and run away at the front, or we could try to make the broadcast and the race a little bit more interesting for everybody. So we both decided to start at the back. And it was really fun racing through. There's a lot of really good racing all over the field today, actually. It's trying to just show off dirt road and the trucks when they're driven right to as many people on the service as possible. That last restart, though, the track was super worn out, and I wasn't moving around a lot. And I started seeing Kami had a little bit of, I think, wheel damage. From hooking the wall, and I was like, okay, well, he's catching me a 10th or 2 a lap. I got to start trying something different. Looked in the mirror, kind of saw he was entering more shallow into the corner to avoid the rubbered in area, and I moved the line around, and then going into the white flag lap, I saw we matched lap times. So I was like, hey, all I have to do is just hit my marks. And then unfortunately, I don't know if he just over-rotated or something there into turn 2, but just caught grip and hit the inside wall, and if you hit it right, you'll just roll over. He won the championship, though, apparently, so, I mean, I can't feel too bad for him, and as somebody who takes these trucks pretty seriously, I'm pretty stoked that we were able to not only just win, but like trying to show really good pace and drive away from the field.
So you talk about the trucks and driving them correctly. Can you possibly explain to viewers what that means? Because it's quite a different driving style, quite technical, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, driving the truck is one thing, but it's racing that I was kind of more referring to. So to your point, what you really want to do, especially with the Pro 2 lights, is, I mean, you saw it in the last couple of laps, is you move the brakes all the way to the back, basically, and use it like a de facto handbrake, and back it into the corner, and then straight line on the exit to get as much exit speed, especially here. They're all hairpins. They're all pretty slow corners with significant straights after, so that's kind of the idea. But usually these cars or these trucks and officials are raced by, I don't want to say ill of anybody, but a lot of people who are learning, and it is a physical form of racing. There's bumping, you're just like moving around, and people get hit once and then just decide that you've wronged them and it's an ego thing and start throwing elbows back, and then it escalates into intent wrecking. But again, I mean, I do a lot of leagues in these trucks, the Pro 4 as well. Was part of the broadcast team for the Crandon Championship iRacing special event this year. When it's done right and everybody kind of understands that we're going to hit each other, but we're not trying to wreck each other, it is some of the, I was just telling Ryan the same thing, this is some of, if not the best and most fun racing on iRacing, period. You can lean on each other, you can get some body damage and kind of just keep going. Even this hour-long race, which is pretty uncommon for these, ended up being a lot of fun. The track evolves, so you kind of got to move around. You can't stay on the same line the whole run. Obviously, again, if you were watching the last couple laps, you saw I was going into the corner a lot narrower to kind of avoid that rubbered in line. When everyone races aggressively but with respect, it usually just puts on a really good show. We only had 12 trucks out there, or 14 trucks out there, and I'm sure it was still probably fun to watch.
Yeah, it was absolutely phenomenal. Just one question I wanted to ask. I think I might have got this wrong in the broadcast, especially after hearing you speak about it. We saw almost like the racing line bedding in through the circuit. I think I must have assumed that equaled more grip and less rotation on the trucks. Is it actually somewhat of the opposite, that when it then beds in, you get a worse grip on the circuit?
Yeah, exactly the opposite. So I believe when we did the rally cars, so the rally, especially the supercars, so like the Subaru, the Ford, and the other Beetle, that's the opposite. So they're on a tarmac tire. This is how that car raced in real life at the time. So when you see that rubbered in area, it's called the blue groove. When you see the blue groove kind of come in, that's more grip for those cars. For us in the trucks, the Pro 4, the Pro 2, and the Pro 2 Lite, these are dirt tires. So it's basically like ice. So again, if you watch the line that I was taking into turn 1, if I went on my traditional line, I'd just slide out wide. So what I was trying to do was turn in early, use the fresh dirt to brake, and then kind of tank that icy dirt in the middle, and then kind of go a little bit wider for an apex. Those who do dirt oval in either the sprint car side or the late model side will know this exact same thing. If it's the blue groove, it's just going to be super slick, and you kind of have to move around. And you can just tank it, you can't just drive through it and hope for the best. But I'm sure a lot of people at the end of the run too, especially in the midfield, like, I got no grip, I have no turn in now. That was just the track wearing in.
Well, you learn something new every day.
Yeah, indeed. I was about to say it's a bit like in some terms drifting, where the grip changes over the course of the runs that you do. The track gets a little bit more rubbered in, but if you go off of that line, you can just ruin your entire run for instance. And I guess you had to use a lot of those skills as well to just get that perfect line every single time and be very adaptable.
Yeah, there's a reason too why my truck looks the way it does. It's very inspired by. It's not inspired by. It's like a parody replica of Ken Nomura's D1 Grand Prix car, one of my favorite drivers growing up. For those who watched NASCAR Formula 1 and had heroes, D1 Grand Prix is that for me. So to be able to show off this livery again, shout out to Drive Through Designs, who made this livery for me a couple years ago. Davin, I hope you're having a great day wherever you are. Yeah, it's definitely, especially with the Pro 2s, which is why I like the rear-wheel drive stuff. Here in dirt, it is a lot of drift skill, especially going into the turn 1 where you're almost backwards and you're kind of just hoping that I can't see where I'm going. I'm on a single screen. I can't look to the right and see if I've overshot or undershot. I just hit the brake and guess. So it all worked out there at the end. But yeah, especially a lot of people I know who've come from sim drifting, usually we end up finding them in the the Pro trucks at some point.
Yeah, amazing. Absolutely fantastic. Aaron, once again, congratulations on what was an outstanding victory here this afternoon. No words for me to say unless John has any further questions for you.
Oh, I just want to say great driving, great consistency, thoroughly deserved. What more could you ask? And great donuts, by the way, at the end.
Yes.
Top job.
Of course, I work broadcasting, and someone needs to do it. Someone needs to put on a bit of a show there at the end. Thanks to you guys as well for putting on the show. If you guys don't follow Creator Series on all their socials, I think you really should. Again, this is a really unique league where a lot of us content creators not only just get to come out here and put on a good show and race something different every week, but also get to make friends and have some fun. Gareth, you do a lot of really hard work behind the scenes, and he's been it's a passion project at this point. So to you guys as well for learning a new discipline of motorsport every week. iRacing for hosting us as well, and then Punju and Eli for same guy, by the way. Eli for kind of doing a lot of logistical work and making the schedules and putting all his heart and soul into this. Thanks you guys very much for giving us a place to have some fun. Also, thanks for giving me a place to win, baby. Let's go! The TPP won. Give me the belt. Give me the belt. Let's go.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. Aaron, it's been a pleasure, and I'm sure we'll chat to you again very soon, buddy.
Yeah, see you. Cheers, guys.
Always an absolute character. We go from one character to another. Ryan L83 joins the building to have a little bit of a chat. And what a race it was for yourself as well, Ryan.
Yeah, honestly, I'm going to be honest with this. I have not touched this track, not touched this car, and probably with 2 minutes before quali started was my practice. So, yeah, I was not expecting to be P2. Not alone on the podium. If it wasn't unfortunate for Cammy to roll and win the championship on his roof, I was not really expecting this. This was going to be one of the dead rounds for me and just survive and get something out of it, even if I was at the back of the field. But I'm generally surprised I've managed to get a podium on a track combo that I was not expecting.
hang on a minute. Well, let's run this one back. Winner in WRC Creator Series, and you are surprised that you won, or not, that you got a podium or won a good position on dirt. Your comments?
Yeah, I mean, iRacing's dirt I've not even experienced before until obviously we did Crandon, and then this truck I've not even touched before. Because when else I was doing qualifying, I was having issues with like the power and stuff like that, but got advice from Aerotech, so shout out to him during quali just to help me out, trying to learn the track as I go. But yeah, it's a bit of a difference between a WRC car that is a BMW from like the 90s, 80s on tarmac against dirt. So
Same thing. Completely similar.
You could say that. But
how difficult was the racing in that aspect?
Oh yeah, it was extremely difficult. It's just the power of the truck, and then I started to go a bit offline because I know one thing of dirt is obviously the track was getting worn on the racing lines, so you have to try and take different lines. So I was trying to experiment that at the end, and it did help because I managed to pull away from Andy behind and Punju and co. So that is one I can take away, that about the dirt is it's interesting, I'll say that. But the car is very difficult to drive, and it's one you have to tame as much because it's got a lot of power, and then trying to get out of the corner, you have to like try and get it as straight as quickly as possible, which thankfully I did after a while. Took probably 3/4 of the race to realize what I was doing was wrong up to the point, and kind of lucky with incidents and stuff like that, with people pushing each other out the way. And Cammy kind of saved me at one point when he lost it at turn 1 and just gave me a little tap, and I managed to squeeze through and then cause a multi-pile up at turn 1, so that kind of helped me a little bit on there. So it was a blast, as it always is in Creator Series, and everyone did a good job tonight.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal job, and congratulations on a podium again. And just looking ahead to when we head to the final round next week, the Williams at Nürburgring, how are you thinking about that?
I will say on broadcast that I used to drive this car religiously when it first came out on iRacing, so you can tell I'm a boomer on iRacing. So I'm pretty confident that I could do something there, but I don't underestimate anybody in this, as it proved tonight. Like me, who's never driven this combo before, gets a podium. You could see someone, I'm trying to think, like, I don't know, a Clio coming through and winning the race on a track combo that she doesn't know, or Els or Punju, but one I will say as a dark horse is Matt 212, because he's also got the F1 experience, so he'll be one to keep an eye on for one. But I think this is probably my best shot of winning a race in Creator Series, but we'll see how we go. It's going to be a ton of laughs next week, and hopefully put on a good show for the finale of the first season on iRacing.
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, right. Ryan, it's been a pleasure to speak to you. It's been a long day for all of us, I think it is probably the best way of putting it. But no, thank you so much for coming to chat to us. Congratulations on a podium, and we wish you the best of luck next week when we head to Germany.
Thank you very much, and shout out to all of you on broadcast. Did a good job as always, and Gareth behind the scenes as well. Much love. See you later.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Wow. We moved from Ryan over to Kamikaze. I've got a question before we even kick off this match. Do you want the good news or the bad news?
Okay, I can take both of them. You decide.
We'll take both at the same time. I'll do it in one sentence. At least you didn't win the championship whilst you're on your roof.
Good way of wording it.
We've had a lovely bit of Gareth's maths come into effect again today, and it's not the first time it's been some sort of a wild card. I think Gareth dutifully announced that you'd won the championship whilst on your roof, but alas, the math didn't work out.
I have been in Creator Series before, and I know their math skills, so I know.
The last time this happened, I just want to point this out, was when Cammy and myself were fighting for the WRC championship.
Yep. So I knew. I just need to get in here and tell you guys that is wrong announcement. So yeah, I know it. I fucked it up. Okay, sorry my language. I get penalty from FIA or something. Yeah, I don't care. But okay, we will have an interesting race next week.
That we certainly will, of course. Next week, for viewers at home, we head in the Williams FW31, I believe, to the Nürburgring GP. So that will be a fantastic race. But talk us through how it was in the Pro 2 light trucks here this afternoon. It was all going so well until it wasn't.
You know, Aero asked me before the race today, do you want to start in the back with me? I misunderstood him, so I did the qualification. So under the pace lap, I just drop back and okay, we do this. We have everything under control, and yeah, it's some barrier. So yep, we can call that the kamikaze corner now. So yep, it's second time I roll there. So, but okay, it's okay.
Well, look, you're consistent in your racing lines. That's the good news that you can take from it. But the overtakes that you did were stunning, I must say. Your ability to get through the pack was second to none in this race. So I understand a little bit frustrating for the end result, but how satisfying was it being able to make those moves?
You don't go for the gap, you're not a race driver.
That's a top tier answer. One thing I did want to ask you about as well was that end of line penalty, I believe, from the first safety car restart. The official reasoning we got up here in the commentary box was your truck was using non-regulation fuel, so the stewards decided to send you to the back. What was all that about?
Did I have a penalty? I don't think so. I just did a 360 or something with the purpose. Nothing penalty.
According to us, you had an end-of-line penalty, but then somehow found your way to P3 in about 2 corners. So whether that's a miscommunication somewhere.
Okay. Maybe. I don't remember. Did I? Did I have a penalty? Okay, I didn't get that.
Race control might have had a few things to drink before the race, and they may or may not have been not water. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, if I got a penalty, okay, sorry for that. We did a Kyle Busch start, so yeah, we just ended. It was fun.
Fantastic stuff. Kamikaze, as always, it's been a pleasure to see you racing and to see you getting involved with what can only be described as carnage here this afternoon. Just quickly a look ahead to the Williams and the Nürburgring GP that we have next week for the final round. How are your thoughts heading into that?
Open wheeler, Nürburgring, slippery track. Not, I don't know what the name is, but yeah, off camber turns. Formula 1 car. Yeah, I know Creator Series has been fundamental theory about Formula 1, but yeah, I can't say I'm a fan. So yeah, don't expect much from me next week.
Well, according to the points, you have, about 102 points to get to secure, assuming Spark scores a perfect weekend. So not much to do in the grand scheme of things. It could be relatively well wrapped up. But we thank you for coming to talk to us. Kamikaze, as always, pleasure to have a chat. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you.
Well, what a race we've just seen. I think that had a little bit of everything from both the drivers and by the sounds of it, race control as well. From end-of-line penalties for non-regulation fuel to safety cars for dirt on a dirt track. Well, we'll see how it goes. John, talk us through, from your point of view, what was the best point of that race?
Oh, I have to say, probably the restart. Because you all go into that first corner, especially seeing as it's one of the slowest corners on the track. You go in there thinking, I can get 3 positions in there. And when everybody goes into that turn thinking they can get 3 positions, the inevitable happens. Someone gets it wrong, they get spun around, and then all of a sudden you've got a 5-car pile-up in turn 1. It's always great to see the side-by-side racing, and I think that's what makes it special, is that it's one of the only series where it's accepted that contact is going to happen, and it's a normal part of the sport, and that you kind of are encouraged to go out there and try and get the overtake done. And that means the dynamic, as Aerotech explains probably better than I can, to be fair, that it means that you have to take a different style. It means that the opportunities are there if you want to get them, but that the consequences for getting it wrong are so high, and that's where we see drivers like Kamikaze and Brendan Hyperstar lose out, for example.
Certainly does. Well, we've got the standings to go through at the end of the penultimate round, and here's how it lines up. Kamikaze on top with 2,580 points to his name. Just a mere 273 points back is Sparks on 2,307. And the remainder of your top 10. Brendan Hyperstar, Matt 212, Aidan Pole, who didn't race today, Aerotech after his victory here in Nevada, and Cephalosis, Ryan L 83. It's Blueberry in 9th with Strasner in the top 10. It's all still to play for next week when we head to Nürburgring GP. And I, for one, I think is going to be almost assured carnage. Mr. John Harris, it's been a pleasure, as always, to be back alongside you in the commentary box. Where can the fine people at home check you out if they want to do so just a little bit more?
Well, usually crashed into a barrier or a tree somewhere, but anything is amusing. That's my username for everything. So if you see that on the track, steer clear of me, because usually I have no idea what I'm...
If you're watching on the iRacing channels, first of all, thank you so much for tuning in for what is essentially guaranteed chaos on a Thursday evening. We do thank you for your time to watch along as we put on quite possibly the most chaotic show in sim racing. Above us, all the social medias for Creator Series, all of them at Creator Series GG, or check out the website creatorseries.gg for any more information. Don't forget to check out our producer as well behind the scenes, Gareth Allen TV. He's done a fantastic job all season long, and quite literally this show wouldn't be possible without him. Check myself out on social media at They Call Me TK, and because this will probably be the last time that I will be on this show, because Jake Sperry will be back next week to grace your ears as the drivers take on the Williams of the Nürburgring GP. I thank you for the opportunity to come on and speak to you all for the last couple of races. But in a race, the sort of the Wild West Motorsports Park reignited for the first time since 2021. Aerotech took his first victory. From all of us here, good night and God bless.